going? Here we go.
There we go. Hello, everybody. We are Slogan's Rock and Metal Extravaganza. Excited to have you here for our first show. We got BM Bolt here from Grant's Rock Warehouse.
We loaned them off the warehouse.
Yep. And that's
you guys are paying me more.
It's going to be our Triumph series, starting with the first album, working all the way up to the last one. So we're starting with the debut today. And so I'll go with Byron first since he's the guest, then Logan, then me. And I would just like to mention that there's actually going to be a little bit of trivia at the end for those who are watching. It'll be 3 or 4 trivia questions. Whoever answers the most can come on at the end and pick any album of their own choice by their favorite band and discuss it for a little bit, just to make it more interactive and fun for people watching. So, Logan, do you want to start off with...
Oh, you want me to start?
Yep. Or sorry, BM Bolt. Sorry. Byron.
Good.
Yeah, so I first heard Triumph when I was in high school. So we're talking late 81, early 82. Allied Forces had just came out. So I was like, wow, this is pretty good. You know, they were playing Magic Power and Fight the Good Fight. And I hadn't heard anything else prior to that. But I ended up buying that. And then, MTV started coming around our area. And so, cable MTV. So I started watching that. And they were showing videos from like Just a Game album. They were,
Nice.
Lay It on the Line, Moving On. And I think there was one other. They were all just live video. You guys have probably seen those.
Yeah.
Started really getting into them. And then, they came here for the Never Surrender tour. I went to see that. Foghat was supposed to open, but they had to cancel. But that was the only time I ever saw them live. I don't know if they ever came here any other tours or not. They may have, but I just don't remember. So that's like my background on Triumph and how I discovered them. But I was buying all the albums in the 80s, and I had the American internet, the American version of it, Rock and Roll Machine, which was the compilation of their first 2 albums in Canada. But I could never find the Canadian versions until probably the late 80s. I finally came across them. I think I got this one first from a guy that I knew who had been in the Air Force, and he had gotten it somewhere. This is the Rock and Roll Machine, the second album. And then I think I found this one, the original first album at a record show. I think I gave $20 for it. That's a lot of money for a record in the late 80s. I would never spend that kind of money now on a record, but I did back then. But so let me talk a little bit about my thoughts on Triumph, and I'll go into the tracks as well. I'm a lot older than you guys, so I remember a lot of things from back in the day. And I remember reading some reviews, and one reviewer, he didn't like Triumph at all. And his review of whatever album it was, or maybe he was talking about a couple albums, his review was, "What's the point?" I was like, wow, that's pretty harsh. But anyway, on this first album, well, actually, in their career, I should say, they covered a lot of genres. Rock, some prog, jazz, classical guitar, blues. But I would say that, this first album is kind of all over the place as far as influences. And I don't think they quite knew exactly where they were going yet. But, I hear on this, like, a lot of the tracks are quite different in a lot of cases. And like one track I'm hearing, like early Rush from the debut, debut style Rush with Rutsy on drums. I'm hearing some Led Zeppelin, maybe a little Styx, because you're going to get a lot of 12-string guitar at times on these albums. some keyboards. I don't remember heard anybody discuss this, but I think they were probably a pretty big influence on Zebra. Something to think about, because they're both a three-piece. Musically they seem very similar to me. So essentially what comes down to is you've got Rick tracks and Gil tracks on these albums. And I'd say the Gil tracks are just straight ahead rock for the most part, where the Rick tunes have a lot more variety. I think the lyrics are a little more thoughtful, where Gil's are just about partying and rock and roll for the most part. I'll be honest, I think at least on this album, Rick is the star. Gil is good, but I think Gil gets better as time goes by. And some of the songs that he contributes, I think, get a little bit better. I'll talk about some of the tracks here now. So it starts out with 24 Hours a Day. And to me, this song really sums up Triumph because the intro is totally Rick. It's got the 12-string guitars. It's got his the lyrics seem a little more introspective on that, and he's high-pitched vocals. But then Gil comes in, and then it just becomes this straight-ahead rock and roll song. They got the gang vocals, or saying everybody party 24 hours a day, and it's just like, yeah, okay, whatever, Gil. And I don't, I was looking on like Wikipedia about the songwriting credits, and it was like saying, one person wrote lyrics, one would write vocals. It was breaking that out. But I look on the back of the album, and it's not breaking it all out. It's just saying 24 Hours a Day was a Rick track. I think Wikipedia was saying, it was Rick and Gil and whatnot. But I could be wrong about all that. But so the second track, Be My Lover. Okay, this one is Rick singing, and it's pretty dang heavy. But to me, this sounds like early Rush musically, as far as the instrumentation and just the style. And I really don't care for the voice boxes that they use in it, though. I don't know. It just doesn't seem to quite work for me. But Rick singing is really good on it. He sounds a little Robert Plant-ish on it, too, I think, at times, especially toward the end. Don't Take My Life, the next track. It's a Gil singing this one. It's pretty heavy and fast. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but they used to take this guitar, so the middle section of this instrumental section, and they would jam it into Lay It on the Line Live. So if you listen to the live album or any of their live shows, you'll usually hear them do that during Lay It on the Line. So I think they really liked this part of the song for sure. I don't know if maybe they didn't think the rest of the song worked that well, but I think it's pretty good. It's the verses, they've got almost like a chicken picking guitar thing going on, which reminds me a little bit of Nature's Child from Progressions of Power, So, okay, next, Street Fighter. There's a part 1 and a part 2 on this. So Rick singing on this first part, and it's a real fast rocker. Now, I'm going to say what it kind of reminds me of is it's kind of like Stone Cold Crazy, but not quite as intense, not as heavy, not quite as fast, but it's got that kind of feel. But I like it a lot. It feels more like a Gil Moore type thing. I think he may have wrote it. According to this, Gil wrote both of these, which I find kind of hard to believe, but it seems like the second one would be more of Rick's song. But Rick is singing it, and I think his voice lends itself better than if Gil would have sang this one, I feel. It's got a pretty good solo with some real long pentatonic runs in it by Rick, which then leads right into Street Fighter Reprise, Rick singing that again. And I think it's a lovely, slower acoustic track. Still have your bass, drums, and keys. And the ending is kind of like got that military feel, or but yeah, so I really think Street Fighter and Street Fighter Reprise and 24 Hours a Day might be the best tracks on that first side. But okay, let's go to side 2. And What's Another Day of Rock and Roll? Okay, I got a little story about this track. Way back in the late 70s, before I had either of these two albums, Triumph was on Rockline. I think it was Rockline. You guys remember that show? You might be a little young.
I've heard of it. I mean, I don't remember it, but
yeah, it was an interview show, and then people could call in, and they would also play songs, and so they answer the questions from the callers. But Triumph was on there, and they said, okay, and tonight we're going to play a song by Triumph that's never been released in the United States. So I was like, ooh. And I was going to record this anyway because it was Triumph. I was a huge Triumph fan. They were my band back at this time. And they played What's Another Day of Rock and Roll. So I recorded that. So I got to hear that song long before I ever, picked up either of these albums. So that was the only track that I was able to get from those two albums that I didn't already know. So anyway, so we get back to the track itself. I say Gil singing this one. It's just another straight ahead rocker. It reminds me kind of a BTO. I don't know if it reminds you guys. You guys will discuss that when you get your chance. But I think it's got kind of a BTO feel to it. And it's basically just about a life of a guy in a rock band, Next track, Easy Life. Rick singing this mid-track. It says mid-pace track based on some heavy riffs is what I wrote. It's decent. I couldn't put my finger on it, what it reminded me of, but it kind of reminded me of something, but I couldn't figure it out what. I thought Rick singing kind of kept it interesting. Let Me Get Next to You. Okay. This is a Rick singing on this one. This is almost a complete rip-off of Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin. That is very similar to rock and roll. Minus the drum intro, it is very similar, but it's listenable. So then we get to the last track, Blinding Light Show, which is 8 minutes and 40 seconds. Okay, I got a lot of notes on this. So to me, this is Triumph going prog, because there really wasn't anything on here prior to this, which was prog. And this was apparently written by Rick and some of his fellow bandmates in a band called Act 3, which I'm not from Canada. I'm not familiar with them. But so it was a song they performed back in those days. They broke up. Rick went to Triumph. And some of those guys were in a band called, is it Zon or Zone?
Yep.
I'm not really too familiar with them, other than I remember Pete Pardo has mentioned them at some point in the last few years on one of his shows. So that seems to stick out in my brain as I'm talking about them. But so it starts out with this real fast classical motif, heavy and fast. Da, 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 da. So we hear that a few different times in this song. And that goes on for, maybe a minute or less. But then they break into this really moody atmospheric verses with a lot of 12-string guitar and keyboards, very, very relaxed and moody. So Rick is singing these verses, and each verse, the intensity is starting to build up a little bit. Then we get into a classical guitar interlude. Okay, so I'm going to go on a little tangent here. I think just every album that Rick's on, except for maybe Sport of Kings, he has a classical guitar interlude. Am I right?
Yep.
Sport of Kings has an interlude, but it's not a classical one. I think it's more of a electric one. But he's a pretty damn good classical guitarist. I mean, he's probably not world class, but you can't complain. These are all really good pieces that he's performed, and he's just really all around talented player. He can play rock, classical, jazz, but so he has that interlude, and then the song just takes off into this really fast, heavy section with guitar solo, and then it goes back to the verse, and this time the verse is a lot heavier than it was previously.
Yeah.
But then it slows down for the final verse, and after that last verse, it just breaks into that classical interlude that they had at the beginning, but this time it's just the bass playing that melody, and you've got some 12-string guitar backing it up. And this to me is the highlight of the album. It's great. I wish they would have done more of this kind of stuff, but they did. I mean, the next album you'll get some of it, but they really kind of got away from this the more and more as they progressed. But I still like all the other stuff that they did, but I wish there would have been a little bit more of this kind of thing. And I'm going to go ahead and rank the album like I typically do on these things. Yep. I'm going to go with a 7.5 because there are some great things on here, but then there's a few things like, Let Me Get Next to You, which is really just kind of a ripoff, I thought. And some of the other tracks are just okay. But like I said, Street Fighter was incredible. I really liked 24 Hours a Day for the most part. But yeah, 7.5. I think that's a pretty good score for it. I'm done.
Awesome. All right.
Oh, Logan, you're up.
I guess I'll start going into it.
Yep.
So
hopefully I didn't steal all your good material.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Some expand on it.
The Act 3 thing, yes. I was going to mention that. Yeah. Go ahead, Logan.
All right. So 24 Hours a Day is the kickoff track. So I think this is a great way to start your career because you really get the best of Rick and Gil to me on this one. Because I agree with what Byron's saying about, Gil doing more of the party rock stuff.
Yeah.
I think it works, though, with this song because Rick's kind of talking about dreaming of making it. And then Gil's side of it is kind of making it. Which.
I agree. It is one of the best songs on here. Besides a couple other things. Go ahead.
Yeah. That's about all I said about that one. But we got Be My Lover as the second song. Opening riff on this song reminds me of something, and I cannot put my finger on it. I don't know what it is. It might be Rush, because I remember you saying...
I couldn't put my finger on a couple of them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really did. The instrumentation and the way it sounded just reminded me of that early Rush. So
100%. Like What You're Doing or something, maybe. Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. It's got an awesome start-stop riff in the verse. And Gil fills in the spots where Rick doesn't play with some fills. But it's a strong rocker with Rick showing off his guitar theatrics. I think the talk box solo is pretty cool myself. But yeah, that's all I said about that one. So track 3 is Don't Take My Life. Gil's first solo vocal on the album. And I'm going to say I think this is Gil's best sung song on this album, probably. A lot of emotion, a little bit dramatic. But it's a great riff at the start. It kind of reminds me of a Spy theme. Like But yeah, it has the same chord progression as Stairway to Heaven. And it kind of gives that vibe. Gil's kind of putting all his emotion into singing about getting framed for his brother's murder. Ending up on death row. So
you'll notice I don't really talk much about lyrics. I don't.
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I mean, like Be My Lover. Did I really need to?
Well, yeah. The title says it.
Yeah. No, where's it at? Great lead break where they go back to that first riff. Yeah. It goes up a step for the solo. And there's kind of unison guitar and bass lines in this section too. It's pretty cool. Then they go into the chorus at the end of the song, and I think Rick's playing slide at the end of that, the last couple seconds of it or so. But I think it's an awesome song. Then we got Street Fighter and the reprise, which the first riff of this song reminds me of kind of like a doom metal thing. Yes. Kind of reminds me of like early doom or like Highway Star kind of. Got that chugging E.
Yeah, Highway Star. That's it. That is it.
100%. Yes. Yeah, I wrote that in my notes.
Yes.
Rick gives an awesome vocal, and instrumentally this track stays energetic throughout. It's got that chugging riff like we were talking about. And there's a chromatic build up in the bars leading up to the solo. And I think this is probably Rick's best solo on the record. Love it. And then it fades into the acoustic intro of the reprise.
Yep.
And this kind of builds itself back up to the epic heights of the original song. And there's some cool keyboard, work on there too. And then the cadence that Byron was talking about, they go into that with the guitar and the bass following, like a military cadence.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then it bleeds into a nice acoustic outro too.
Yes.
And I think this tune is really their first real stab at kind of I guess Don't Take My Life had dramatic themes, but this one's probably maybe more epic themes, I guess. I wouldn't call it prog, but a little more introspective maybe. Then we go to side 2 with What's Another Day of Rock and Roll with that disco 16th note drum beat.
Yeah.
But it's killer, man. I don't know if they released any singles off this record, but I think this could have been a single. And Gil singing about being on the road.
Yep.
It's a good rocker. I mean, that's about all I had to say for that one. And we got Easy Life with, I guess Mike Levine wrote this tune by himself. Got a nice, cool, rollicking riff. I think it's like an open string kind of riff at the start. That's pretty cool. But I think it's probably my least favorite.
Did it remind you of anything?
I don't know, man.
I couldn't put my finger on it.
Maybe that second riff kind of sounds like something. But I'm not sure what it would be.
There's a lot of songs that do sound like from something, and you're just like, I don't know what it is, though, but I've heard this.
Yeah.
And you don't even know if it's something that influenced them or came later. It's just like...
Yeah. You can tell they really love their early Zeppelin, early Rush, Definitely got that vibe on this record. But yeah, it's a cool song.
Early Rush, they're 76, yeah.
Yeah. The lyrics are pretty interesting on this tune, I'll let Sydney maybe talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah. We'll get to that.
But Rick uses some wah-wah on this tune. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about all I had to say for that one. And now with Byron, with Let Me Get Next to You, it's 100% rock and roll. That's what I wrote in the notes. And even the solo is like note for note. I mean, almost. The ending's definitely the same. But yeah, it's an okay song, Them two are the only ones I'm kind of iffy on. Easy Life and Let Me Get Next to You. But I think the rest of it's really strong. Then, of course, we got Moonchild / Blinding Light Show, which is probably their second most proggiest song, I'd say. Obviously, we'll get more into that at a later date, but it opens with just an energetic riff that you can tell the guys in Iron Maiden absolutely love, because it sounds like early Maiden, definitely. Then it melds its way into a beautiful clean tone of the verses. Rick gives an amazing vocal performance, setting another dramatic mood. And there's cool bass and keyboard work in that slower section too. And then Rick shows off his acoustic guitar string skills, It kind of reminds me of Steve Howe a little bit from Yes. And it's good keyboard work too there. And then the electric comes back in with the drum cymbal crash, and we're off to the races once again with a solo. Excellent bass and guitar lead unison lines. And then Rick brings the track to a close in fine fashion when one last verse and a little clean section from the sound of thunder crashing brings it to an end. It's a pretty cool song. I mean, I think it's probably the second best on here. I do like Street Fighter the best. But yeah, this is a very strong debut, I think. Plenty of different stylings on here to keep somebody who hasn't ever heard it before listening, waiting for what's going to come. But yeah, straight ahead rock and roll to some prog. It's pretty cool. I think it's enjoyable. Listen, I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Cool. I got a question before I forget, especially for Sydney, since he's the Canadian and Triumph is his band. Have you ever heard anything by Act 3? Did you know
they didn't record anything?
They did no
official recordings. It was just the band. There was no actual recordings.
Okay. Did nobody taped any shows or anything?
Guess not. They probably didn't actually record. There's not much information other than they were in a band together. And that's it.
Because it'd be cool to like hear like them do like a live show or something.
Early version of that song.
Yeah, to hear what it would sound like
with a different singer, and yeah.
I would like to hear what they were like if they were, because I think they were somewhat proggy, weren't they?
Probably not as heavy, I'm imagining, because if it was earlier, it was probably around 73, 74 maybe. Like, I don't know how old it would have went back to. There's no real history on when it originally would have been played or recorded. It just says they played it. So.
Why don't you go ahead? I got a couple other things, but I'll save them for later. I'll save them later because I want to hear what you say first before I say.
So yeah, they like I said, I'm gonna do like a little bit of intro to the band. I probably should have done that at the start, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like Rick Emmett, like Byron was saying, started in a band called Act 3 with, I'm not 100% sure who in Zahn was with him, but I only know Denton Young for sure because it's on the credits, and that was the singer. And it was weird that they were like a prog band from North America, and the singer's name is Denton Young because you got him, Dennis DeYoung. So it's kind of, I always thought that was a weird coincidence, and he even sounds like him. I have the Zahn CDs. Yeah, he sounds even like Dennis too. But yeah, it would have been interesting to hear a demo of that or something. Yeah, and Gil, before Triumph, was in a band called Sherman and Peabody, based off of the comic. And Buzz Sherman on vocals and Greg Godovitz from Goddo on bass.
Was Buzz Sherman and Moxie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Buzz Sherman from Moxie.
I've heard of that band before, but I know Buzz Sherman.
Yeah. Right. So you think of those three guys, weird. I don't know who would have sang because they're all singers. There's not really information on who sang. I'm assuming it was just Buzz because he didn't play anything. So I figured it was just Gil probably didn't sing. But yeah, it's an interesting fact to throw out there. But yeah, anyway, so the songs. So 24 hours a day.
Wait, I'm gonna interject right now since Mike Levine. Mike Levine was in a band called, I guess, was it Ultimate Spinach?
Ultimate Spinach. That I never heard.
Was that a different Mike Levine? I believe it is this Mike Levine. He was in a band.
Very common name, right? I don't know.
Which, the other thing I'm going to say about that, I was just looking at some album the other day that I was listening to, and they had it's early George Thorogood. He had a bassist named Michael Levine, but I don't think it's the same Mike Levine.
No.
But I believe this Triumph's Mike Levine was in a band called Ultimate Spinach. So maybe somebody else can chime in on that and agree with me or disagree with me. One other Mike Levine story before you talk about your songs. I was over at my mom's once on Christmas Eve.
You're wrong on that.
But there is a guy, I think, a bass player in Ultimate Spinach called Mike Levine.
I don't know if he was the bass, but it says was a short-lived American psychedelic rock band from Boston. So it's not.
Maybe that's the other Mike Levine. Then.
Yeah,
Ultimate Spinach deep dive then, huh? It
says Jeff Baxter was in there.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell my other Mike Levine story. Then you can go into your songs.
Okay.
So I was a Chris. I don't know. It was 20 years ago. I was over at my mom's for Christmas Eve, and they had the TV going, and what's that stupid game show now where they spell the words? Wheel of Fortune was on, and Mike Levine was on Wheel of Fortune.
Oh yeah, that's true, right?
And they said, well, "What do you do?" He goes, "Well, I used to be a musician." he
used to be.
Never anything. He just really was low, just keeping it on the down low. So I just thought I would share that story.
Yeah, that's funny. Did he win?
No, he did not win. Not that I remember, but he was on there.
I'd like to solve the puzzle. Blinding light show.
Yes.
Easy life. No, Mike, they're not your songs. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, 24 hours a day. It's basically a party song. I like how it starts with Rick singing. You think it's going to be like this ballad, like Magic Power or something, and then just turns into a Gil party song. Which is, I love it's a short solo, but it works in the middle. I don't know, it's just a fun song. That's the crowd song. I don't think they played it live very much once they got big. They would have only played it early on. But yeah, like that's just a crowd energy song, I think, if you were to see that live. And then Be My Lover. See, I like the talk box, especially at the one part where you can tell he's just saying Be My Lover with the talk box. And then during the solo, I have no clue what he's saying. I like to sometimes make up my own words. What he would, that would be cool to find out if he's actually saying anything or if he's just moving his mouth around. I don't know. But yeah, I still like, yeah, you're right. The riff does, I don't know what exactly song, but it does sound like something. I just can't like think of it.
Maybe something off that Rush album. I don't know.
Yeah. It's hard to say. Like you could say there's early Rush influence, but this is 76. Rush only had the debut and Anthem, right?
Well, they had Caress of Steel too.
Their Caress of Steel would have been out.
Not sure about 2112.
Rush hadn't really broken through yet. No, 2112 I don't think would have been out yet. But yeah. Yeah, Don't Take My Life. I hear a little bit of Maiden in that. And yeah, weird lyrics about killing his brother. I don't know if Gil has a brother, but like, or if he killed him. But no, it's a interesting subject matter.
Maybe he had a dream about it or something.
Very dark for Gil, because you go from like the party songs to that. But yeah,
oh yeah, it's definitely his most darkest song. Yeah,
a little bit strange, but yeah, well, it's a great song. The solo is total like note for note, Whole Lot of Love in the middle.
Yeah, I forgot to bring that up. I had that.
Pretty sure it's note for note. Sounds the same to me. But you know what? Pretty sure they were doing Purple and Zeppelin covers early on, so it's not surprising. And Robert Plant, Rick Emmett has that high pitched voice to pull off that kind of vocal style. So yeah. And then Street Fighter, which is probably my favorite song on the album. It's just fast and heavy. And I always thought if I was like a movie director and I was going to make a movie, I'd make like a Street Fighter movie with all Canadian actors, and that would be the theme. It's just such a great, energetic song. It's almost, you could almost call it speed metal in the 70s. It's a pretty heavy song. The solo does remind me a bit of Anthem. It has that lead style. It's fast. But yeah, I think them and Rush were very similar in the early days. They probably played together early on.
Probably.
I can imagine both being from Toronto. So yeah, Street Fighter. And then like the second half of it is just as good. It ends with like the whole war march at the end, like you were saying, and which has been done 1,000 times, but you know what? It still sounds good no matter who does it. And they do a great version of that. But yeah, it's just fast, energetic song, and yeah. And then What's Another Day of Rock and Roll? Yeah, that's disco basically. The drum is, but then it kind of that's more the intro, because then the drums don't really continue like that as much. Yeah, it's kind of a disco-ish song, but it's a great song. It was actually pretty sure, if you disregard Blinding Light Show, it was like the first song that they ever wrote. Because Blinding Light Show was obviously written before, but like this was like the first actual like official like Triumph song that they wrote. And then you go into Easy Life, which is probably my least favorite. It's still a good song. It's like I put on this album all the time. If I were to like sit there like playing songs over and over and over again that I like from it, Easy Life would probably be the last one I would play. I like Mike Levine, but it's the only song that he actually wrote on his own. It's strictly a Mike Levine song. And then, yeah, it's just, I don't know, but it's fun, but it's just, I don't know, it's almost, I don't want to say forgettable. I mean, it's a decent song, but.
Do you hear any BTO in that, or?
Little. The lyrics, though, I don't know if lyrically it would fly today with had a woman that didn't understand, so I showed her where it's at with the back of my hand. It's like, oh boy. That's
probably won't go down today.
Stranglehold.
Yeah, maybe he meant like, talk to the hand. Maybe he didn't mean
that's what he meant. Yeah,
that's what he meant. Yeah, we'll go with that. And then, Let Me Get Next to You is rock and roll. Led Zeppelin, basically. Even, the solo, you can tell. Like, probably the only reason they didn't get sued because Zeppelin was known for copying people themselves.
Exactly.
So they're like, well, it's not like the song was a hit, so it's like whatever. But yeah, no, I still find it's great. Like, it's not to the point where if you put on rock and roll and that, you're not gonna tell which song is playing. It's not that close, but I mean, yeah, it's the rhythm is there. It's basically the same song, but just they somehow managed to do it in a way that's somewhat different. I don't know. It's weird to explain. And then, Blinding Light Show was the one written by Denton Young, Chris Brockway, whoever that is, and Emmett, from their band Act 3. And you guys said it starts off with like that kind of like that weathery intro, like a storm almost, and then just kicks in and gets heavy right away. And then it goes to like the second half with Moonchild, kind of like a slow little, and then the whole song is heavy though. But it's definitely probably the most prog song that they ever did, maybe. But on this album, it's the only song that you could classify even remotely as prog.
Oh, for sure.
Yep. Great heavy song. And then on the keyboards, if you look on like the back of, so it was originally as Triumph, and they changed the cover because Gil didn't like how he looked on there, and then they re-released it on CD as in the beginning, and on the back you think it's like just some random like groupie sitting on the couch in the back, but she actually played keyboards on this. And her name was Lori Del Grande. She was apparently in some other like Canadian band called Brutus before Triumph, probably early in the early 70s, around 70, 71-ish. But like she played the keyboards on it. So I always wondered who that was. I ended up doing research on like who was the girl on the back of, and then it did turn out, like it says here in the credits, that special thanks to her for keyboards. So, but that is actually her apparently on the back. Yep, Byron's got the vinyl.
She's got good legs.
Yep. It's like she was a fourth band member and she's just chilling out on the couch. Yeah, but that's my little stories for that. And then, it was, I don't know, for me, I still love this album. Like, this is a desert island album for me. I just love the energy to it. I'd go as high as 9.5. I'd go 10, but Easy Life knocks it down a little bit. Not even just because of the lyrics, just the song itself is just like kind of like this. It's 4 minutes, but it seems like this short little song that's just kind of like there. There's not really any great solo or anything. It's just kind of, I don't know, it's not even mid-pace. It's not really fast. It's hard to describe the pace of the song. It's just such a weird song, but it's not bad. But this is pretty good. We have a pretty good audience here.
Yep. Thankful for everybody for watching.
Yep. So as I was saying earlier at the beginning, I don't know if you caught it, I was saying there's going to be a little bit of trivia at the end to see like how close attention everyone is paying. So then, I was going to ask a few questions, and whoever can like answer them quickly in the chat, whoever answers like the most quickly or whatever.
Answer first.
Yep, answer first. Buzz in like Wheel of Fortune. Well, you don't buzz in for Wheel of Fortune, but yeah.
Yep.
Family Feud.
Family Feud. Yeah, there you go. So then, whoever gets the most right can, you're able to come on this episode right now or share the link in there and pick any album by like your favorite band or whatever and just come on and talk about it. We're not going to, but like, you can just come on and you're free to just talk about an album that you want to talk about. So start off with, let's see here. So, let's see. Should be an easy one. Let's see.
Family Feud.
Which Zahn band member was in Act 3 with Rick Emmett and co-wrote Blinding Light Show?
Byron.
That doesn't count.
Nobody's gonna get it. Pay attention, people.
Come on.
Is your wife gonna get it, Byron?
People are looking it up, I bet.
We both mentioned. Well, you mentioned the name once or twice.
I mentioned the name.
Sounds like.
Do I have to get dressed?
Yeah. Oh my God. He already has half of it in his name.
There's a hint.
Almost.
Give you a hint. Sticks.
Nope. Nobody's gonna get it.
No. Come on. Wow, this is more difficult than I thought.
Well, your first episode, you're gonna get people what they're gonna
Young.
be a little leery. They're gonna be a little leery.
I'll give that one to Jerry. To Gary.
Gary.
I'll give that one to Gary.
Yes.
We won't use first
Gary.
names. We'll just put Young. That counts. Denton Young.
Denton.
I know, but I'm not playing Denton. Oh my God.
people are shy.
Yeah.
That's
Young. Okay, Gary. Gary, you got the first one.
Yep.
All right. So this one here, I'll give you an easier one. What song was written entirely by Mike Levine? It's an easy question.
You don't have to come on. Just answer the questions.
Yeah, just write about the album in the comments if you don't want to come on. It's no big deal.
Wheel of Fortune. It's not a
By
song.
the way, I posted the video link in there of Mike Levine's wheel when he's on Wheel of Fortune is on YouTube. So go look for it.
Nice.
I know you guys are going to watch that after this.
Yeah. First thing I'm doing.
Nobody's got it.
No one? It's an easy question. First song, only song written by Mike Levine. Easy question. The hint is in, I just said it. Easy.
No.
Wheel of Unfortune. Wheel of Unfortune. Oh boy.
I don't think anybody's gonna get it.
What does this mean? What? There you go. Oh my God, BM Bowl.
Byron got it. Holy.
I got it. I can come on and talk about any other album I want. No, go ahead.
All right. Let's see.
No, Gary said it.
Yeah. I guess Gary wins.
Gary, yeah.
Let's see. One more then. Gary gets this. First song on the album written by the band. Excluding Blinding Light Show, because that was before Rick was.
You know these
Byron
Logan?
knows. Oh, I know it.
Okay.
It's a rock and roll song. Come on, guys.
Nobody knows.
No, not 24 hours.
Oh, she tried. She tried.
That's
Yeah,
the
good.
first
Well,
album on the
good
song.
try. Good try.
Good try. I don't think
And,
she was watching at the beginning, was she?
It's
No.
kind of it's related to 24 hours.
Yeah. You got Day in the title.
Give it to Gary.
Yeah, I'll give it to Gary. That's Gary. Do you actually want to come on? No, that's the thing.
Gary's a very modest man. He doesn't like to come on. He's a hardcore viewer, though.
Wikipedia.
Gary's the best viewer of all the channels.
First song on the album.
Gary's a loyal guy, man.
Gary's very loyal.
Yep.
Yep. Dedicated
Well.
viewer.
No.
Yeah, it's the first song on the album, not the first written.
Yep. She tried.
Yep.
So
Yeah, Gary, if you do want to come on, just let us know in the chat. Yep, there you go. See, Gary's got it.
he's got
Gary's
all the
3 for
answers.
3.
3 for 3. Gary's the winner.
Gary did his homework. He's paying
There
attention.
you go.
Maybe he could come on next time. Set it up for them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to talk the original Rock and Roll Machine. Next week they have an opening, or I might have to fill in if nobody wants to fill in.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and anybody in the comments is welcome to come on if they want to. So.
Yep.
So what did we give that? About a
So what's the math?
something?
Logan, did you rate it?
I gave it an 8.
8. Okay, so 9.5 plus 8 plus 7.5, right? So 25 divided by. Well, not bad. 8.
Go ahead.
8.3.
Yeah, we had a couple other scores, I think, at one point, but yeah, Jeff Dennis gave it a 9.
Nice.
Mark, Triumph will always be a 10. Mark, I'm not sure who that is. Gary Joyce, 9.5.
Nice.
I mean, it's getting some pretty good scores here. I feel bad I gave it such a low score compared to some of these other guys. Man. All right.
Yeah, I could probably go a little bit higher, but no.
Yeah. No, that's still good though for an album that no one really ever talks about.
Yeah.
Well,
and most of the 80s stuff gets like 10s by people because that's like the more successful stuff. So to get the first album to get 8.3 is with.
Yeah, that's I know that I like other albums better, so I'm like, well, I can't go too high with this because there's other albums which I think are better. So
you can't give everything 10, right? Like it's because then it's like which one's a better 10 than the other one.
Well, what's his face can give 10 for every Yes album though. Rand, yes, my brain is just not what it used to be. Rand gives every Yes album a 10, just about.
Yeah.
Ernesto's copying.
Ernesto, yeah.
When's Ernesto coming on? What's he
coming on for Never Surrender.
Never Surrender. All right.
Yeah. Ernesto just stole your rating.
Well, all right.
Hey, do you have this on 8-track, Ernesto, the Canadian version?
You guys didn't talk about the cover. Yes, we did. You came in late. Yeah, that's the original.
Yep, I've got nothing to hold up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, we're not gonna do a photo shoot of that.
Does anybody you guys have any of the other covers? Because my original copy, the American original I had, was them on stage with the whole explosion going on. Has anybody seen that one?
I think that's for Rock and Roll Machine, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was the American Rock and Roll Machine.
Yeah,
that's the one Peter Jones was talking about to me.
Yeah, but that also I've got. Hold on. Let's see here. I've got this as well.
Yep.
This is the American Rock and Roll Machine. But I used to have this with the cover that Logan. My original was the cover that Logan's showing there, way back in the day. Yeah, I like that cover way better than this. This is just kind of.
That would have been good for a live album, though, for sure.
Yeah. So.
Cool.
And then there's the in the beginning CD with the lightning on it. Yeah. So a lot of different covers.
Yeah.
2 versions of the first album. Well,
I didn't even know about that live stage one until Logan brought it up today. That's probably a more obscure one because I think internationally it was more commonly released with the Flying V, right?
I think when it first came out, at least in the U.S., that was the cover that it came out on that Logan showed. Because then I saw this one later after I had bought mine. So.
Wrap her up, man.
Grant needs to come on.
Yeah.
Grant wouldn't have known the trivia, though.
I sound like Byron.
I think you need to bring on when Ernesto's on. He should show his whole Triumph 8-track collection.
Yep.
That's what we need to see.
Yeah, that's true. Rick Emmett can still sing.
Right.
He still does shows, like just these acoustic shows, but
2 out of 10.
I'll tell a little quick story. When I got married to my wife, Mrs. Bolt, She walked down the aisle to Rick Emmett, "Let Me Be the One."
Oh boy,
So there you go. If anybody knows that song,
nice.
it's a wedding type song. So, yeah.
He played at the wedding, right?
No, he did not. It was pre-recorded.
Can you imagine? Nice.
So yeah,
That's cool.
that's all my Triumph stories that I've got. So go watch Mike Levine on Wheel of Fortune on YouTube. Just type in Mike Levine.
Everybody go watch that.
You'll find
Wheel
it.
of Fortune.
I'm gonna watch that again today just for the hell of it because
Does he guess like any letters right?
he did okay, but he didn't win.
No, that's funny. Was it like a celebrity one, or he just went on?
No,
So weird.
It's just weird. I was sitting there like, what the hell? He just said Mike, and I'm like, that's
Just
Mike
said-
Levine.
That's wow.
doing
That's
on
crazy.
here? Does he need the money?
I don't know. Maybe he's giving it to charity. Maybe. What year was this?
According to YouTube, it was 95.
Oh yeah, they were broken up, so they weren't doing anything.
It was December 24th.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was Christmas Eve when I saw it. So yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, go check it out, you guys.
yeah,
Yep, I'll definitely check it out.
yeah.
All right.
And Gilmore was on Jeopardy. No,
Was
no.
no okay.
Rick Emmett was on Family Feud. This band had the hit song "Rock and Roll Machine." Oh yeah, Mike Levine on a game show. That's interesting. I will definitely, for sure, check that up.
All right.
God, more Rock and Roll Machine. Oh boy.
You want to wrap her up, man?
Yep, we'll wrap this up, and as Ernesto says,
Wrap it up.
yep,
Wrap this
so,
puppy. Wrap up this dog, or whatever Grant says. So
Wrap this dog up.
all right, yeah. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks, Mrs. B and Bolt.
Yep.
And yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
We
this
appreciate
check out our,
it. Decide to watch.
yeah, there's pretty good documentaries of them. Yeah.
all right.
Well, I guess
Yeah.
until maybe next week, we'll see you for Rock and Roll Machine.
Yep. Byron will be back for Rock and Roll Machine. Maybe.
Hey,
Unless we can find someone else. No. Yeah,
Yeah,
but he has that. So yeah. If there's anyone there that has like the original Canadian release of it that wants to be on, and they can come on. So yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be great to have anybody, and yeah. Thanks for everybody for watching, and yeah, tune in next time for next week. Might not be on Sunday, it depends on scheduling, but yeah, well, you'll see the link posted up when everything's confirmed on who can be here for what day and what time, and yeah. So yeah, catch that second video. We'll discuss Rock and Roll Machine. Yep, thanks everyone for watching. I'm Sydney, and Logan, and Byron, who I'm sure you all recognize. So yeah. Have a good day, everyone. And yeah, that's it. See ya.
Keep rocking.
Keep rocking.